in person.
Right, they can ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Select board meeting that we've had in quite some time. We're calling it to order about 3:07 this afternoon. We had various technical things to deal with. We are offering a Zoom option for people that want to join us that way. That Zoom address was on the agenda. And of course, we are also doing a YouTube recording, so anyone that is watching, they can join us that way as well, or watch the meeting later. I guess the usual in terms of if people have questions, Mark,
Yeah.
they can use the chat on the Zoom, or they can call in to the office at 603-236-4730 if they have a question.
Or if they have a problem.
And if you have any problems with the Zoom transmission or with the YouTube, that kind of thing, please let us know so we can correct those for you. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is our COVID-19 update.
Things are going well. We do not have any active cases here in town that we're aware of. Correct, Chris? We are proceeding along. Town operations have not been affected in any way, where everybody is healthy and here, staff-wise. There's nothing specific or no changes in the state guidelines since our last meeting. So no changes in that way. Anything in the department's COVID related that you need to brief? Okay, so it's pretty much business as usual.
And we're hoping that it stays that way.
We're hoping it stays that way.
So everybody wear your mask, wash your hands, keep
Yes.
6 feet of distance, please.
That's right.
That's what got us here. That's where we want to stay.
Yeah.
Okay, privilege of the floor. Do we want to jump down to the chapel?
We can, that's certainly a major piece of what we need to talk about.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Okay, so the committee who is working on putting the chapel on the shores of Corcoran Pond are here to give the selectmen an update, and we'll let them do their thing here. If you could just introduce yourselves.
Oh, yeah,
It's-
sorry.
You
I
can go
can't
now.
hear my mask on.
You can't hear with your mask
Yeah,
on.
I gotcha. Anyway, this is Eric Clark, the architect of the chapel, who's going to give the presentation today. And any questions you have about what's going on and where the site is and so on, ask him. If you want to introduce yourselves to him, that would be great too, so we know who you are.
Bertie Britton is talking right now. She's not in front of the camera, but she is speaking right now and introducing Eric, who is the architect that they have chosen for the chapel. So, Eric, this is my
Yes, we met earlier.
okay. And then
Hi, Rich Rita.
Nice to meet you, Rich.
Margaret Turner, Eric,
Nice to
and
meet
you
you.
know
Oh, yeah.
Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
So take it away. Now, how are we going to be able? How is
We have a file here under the Adobe. We're going to be able to share the screen.
It's right in front of it.
Yeah, just so
Okay.
you know.
Everyone at home is going to be able to see what you're seeing up on the,
If it's
TV
easy to do
monitor.
that,
Okay.
right here.
Yeah, or I can
Or
go
or
over there.
just,
Yeah,
that's the
people
camera
can
for the
come,
room.
yeah, oh, he was standing in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, standing right in front of it.
Yeah.
When you
Okay,
want me
so-
to share the screen, you just,
Go ahead and share the
Sure, yeah,
screen
no.
and share this this Adobe Acrobat file. You actually have to call it up first, Sharon. Click the Adobe down by the Chrome. There you go. Click that Adobe.
You should be able to go into full screen mode.
There you go. Yep.
and
Yep, hit share.
There you go.
do you see it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you could go, if you do view full screen. Yeah, maybe I'll go over there so I don't have my back to half of us.
Beautiful. Um,
On the upper left-hand corner, there's the word view.
oh. And I don't see a full screen. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just make sure it's working. Okay, great.
That work?
So I'll try to speak loudly so people who are digital can hear me through the mask. But thanks again for having us and for all the support. It's been an interest. We're really excited. This is part of a much larger presentation, which you have digitally and physically. You can go through in more detail later, but I'm just going to focus more on specifically what we're here for today, which is more specifically where the chapel's located and the extent of the property and what it will generally look like. So this presentation is outlined as what you can go through in more depth later, but it's an RFK memorial chapel, so it doubles as a memorial and a chapel. And it's meant to serve as a space of spirituality for the valley, which is something that we don't really have right now. And it's something that we think would give back a lot to the people here. And it's a vision that it's a vision that Tom Corcoran had, and it's something that we want to bring together to kind of marry Bobby and Tom's vision. So just a bit about our thinking and how we arrived at the design. You can see one of the renderings from the left. That's from the pond looking up. Actually, I think I might have skipped over it. No, it's later. Mm-hmm. So on the right, you can see how the design is basically derived directly from what we call the Waterville vernacular. So we did a lot of studying of all the buildings that are in the valley now to understand what are the pieces of them, what makes them work, what's the scale, the materiality, the proportion. And then from that study, we translated that directly into the chapel. So the idea is that it fits in, but it also stands out, and it's this nice centerpiece for the valley and something to give it an extra dimension to the town square area is the thinking behind it. So just a few examples on the right. You can see the Golden Eagle, White Mountain Athletic Club, and then the welcome sign as well. So here's Tom's vision in a nutshell on the left there. He describes his vision of a chapel as something to be set on a plateau overlooking the brook flowing through the Waterville Village complex. The chapel will be modern New England with much glass, wood, and rock, and a spire visible from every corner of the village. So that was a big piece of what we use as inspiration, and marrying that to what is it that makes Waterville Valley unique in terms of its architecture. So the site that we're looking at is just right. It's this pointer isn't working, but it's that blue area there. It's right on the XC path, basically, adjacent to Town Beach, and you can access it from the Osceola Arbor Street there. And here's some of the thinking behind the design. We really want to focus on views, connecting it to the pond, allowing for great light and air, and also making it accessible. And I'll run through these quickly again because I know we want to get to more of the location and the site plan, but here's just a understanding of how it would sit on the site and how it is basically there's the XC trail on one side and then a walking path on the other. So it very much connects Town Beach to the surrounding, and it's meant to fit into the context and be cognizant of future plans for the area. Here's a section cut down the middle, and a piece of it is this stone wall that would basically be a memorial timeline of RFK's life. So it would have a series of quotes and events from his life that you'd basically be able to follow from one end to the chapel to the other, kind of going inside and out. So it would double as this memorial of solidarity for RFK. Here's another section looking out, and it's inspired specifically by the geometry of Osceola, and the angles of the wooden truss inside is designed to echo those profile of the mountains and bring that into the architecture. So we really want to knit it into the specific location and the specific place and have it belong really to that site and to the valley and to the people of the valley. And here's an interior rendering that gets to that point as well. Really simple architecture, really simple materials. It's non-denominational. There's no overt religious imagery, and it's very much open and connected to the site. And here's a night view from Route 49 looking across the pond, and something that we're thinking of it being this warm beacon at night that would kind of glow and be a bit of a lantern on the side of the lake there. Here's the approach from the XC trail now, looking kind of the main entrance in the back. And again, here's that view from the water from the pond. So here specifically is the proposed site plan with the darker lines you can see in that that are, this is a survey that was done by Horizons Engineering, where you can see the proposed plot line in those darker lines around the chapel.
And that's in your packet, that's at your.
And then if you're interested, we have done a grading analysis and we've done test pits for the soil. So we have a pretty good sense of what's going on underneath. And it is amenable to a building being built there. And we think it's a lot of gravel and sand. So not much clay and very little organics. So it's a good site for the building itself, is what we found from that initial geotech report, which is here. And on the following pages, you can look at some of those test pit results. So this is kind of divided up into 2 pages just because of the page. You can open it up in your pamphlet to see them together. But this is our proposed schedule. We're willing to be flexible. It's a fundraised project, so we might not have all the funds we need up front quickly. So we're proposing multiple options for the schedule. But in general, right now, we're kind of working through early schematic design development to understand how the building actually goes together and how it sits on the site. We hope to have that complete sometime this winter, and then work on the construction documents over the winter and spring, and have the lot warrant submitted. And then the permit application in March of next year would be the approval from the town, hopefully. So then it would go through a process of bidding and negotiation, and then construction, administration, and project management. And we're thinking about potentially dividing it up into 2 phases. One phase would be the actual open. If you look back at the renderings, one phase would be kind of the actual terrace piece of it and the memorial timeline wall. So you could still have outdoor weddings and it would still be a nice place to gather. And then we could do the actual building in the second phase. Or if we fundraise enough all up at once, we could do the whole thing at once. So we're being flexible based on fundraising outcomes. So I think that's it, unless Tom or Bertie, you wanted to add anything.
No, except maybe mention the trails and the flexibility. Obviously, there's a cross-country trail and a walking trail, and they're all built in, so they're not obstructed. So we worked that out with the Marble Company, and then with Tom's committee, who does the walking trail around the pond, which they're in the process of doing. So we tied that all in as well.
Yeah, great point, Bertie. So thinking about the potential walking path that'll go around the pond, we're accounting for that with this smaller path that goes kind of around in front of the chapel, and then, or it could be the XC trail, which would basically be rerouted more adjacent to the stream, and then come around the other side. And we've already talked about this with Tim. He seems pretty amenable to it. I think it actually might be better like that. But we're being very cognizant of allowing for people to move around the chapel organically and not have anything be forced.
I also just this has nothing to do with the chapel, more about Eric, who is donating his time to do this, and he's worked like nothing else these past few months. And I just wanted to say that because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Bertie.
I've got a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
What are the dimensions of this building?
They're 45 by 90 feet approximately.
And what is the capacity, do you think?
160 people plus outdoor seating for another 30 or 40.
Okay, will there be any bathrooms in the building?
No
All right.
plumbing, so it's just electricity.
Okay,
And we're hoping the electricity will be 100% renewable.
and have you, where are these people gonna park? Are we gonna come to this?
So there needs to be 2 accessible parking spaces, and that would be just out front potentially, like a little. We haven't identified a specific spot. Or I can go back.
No,
to
I'm not talking, I'm just wondering if you're gonna bring 160
No.
people to an event.
Oh,
Where are they parking? Has that been discussed with, I would think the Golden Eagle would probably be the closest place.
yeah, probably the Golden Eagle parking lot or
In the conference center parking lot. But we're hoping a lot of people will be walking from Town Square, Black Bear, Golden Eagle.
Well, the resort is using that wide open area right now for those weddings now also, next to adjacent to the gazebo. And I don't know if that's,
But that doesn't belong to the town.
it does
It
not,
belongs to
correct.
whatever their name is.
So I would just recommend that you talk to Tim about, or talk to
Soon.
Tyrell
Talk to Tyrell.
Corporation to see if you could secure easements in any way in
From
that
the
parking spot over by the current chapel or current gazebo place for weddings.
Until it gets developed.
Until it gets developed, but
Correct.
then that should be part of the discussion about the easements is what happens when it
When it
gets
does.
developed. Is there any way there must be a parking lot associated with whatever the development is.
Yeah.
So can you potentially secure X number of parking spots within that development? But I'd have that conversation with them now.
Yeah,
Well, Katie Smith, of course, is on our board too, so
Well, but it's not the
Oh, it's
ski
not the
area,
ski
it's
area.
Tyrell.
it's Tyrell.
It's Tyrell Corporation and they are
Oh, okay.
different.
Two
So
separate. Okay.
you gotta get to the people for Tyrell.
Okay.
Yeah, we're mentioning this because we had the unfortunate experience of putting some maps out that showed a partial walk around the pond,
Right.
and the Tyrells didn't know about it. Everybody kind of knew about it before, you
Right.
know, they came into existence, if you will, but they were totally surprised that there
Yeah,
was
I
some
was
kind of
wondering.
plan that had that
Yeah.
on it. So I think it's good advice to make sure you contact them early and talk
Mhm.
about what you need and what you're thinking about doing. Just keep them in the loop.
Yeah.
Would you be seeking this as an easement for this, for what's highlighted as the parcel? Or would you be looking for the parcel to be deeded to some entity? Or how would this work? Have you thought about that?
We haven't really discussed it, but just off the top of my head, I would think it would be to the foundation, the Memorial Chapel, because we set up a 501c3 and a bank account and so on, and we could incorporate it within that. I don't know if that's possible, but
Well, is that a nonprofit that you see going forward in perpetuity to support the chapel?
yes.
Okay, so, but would you be looking for fee title to the land? Or would you just be looking for a long-term lease easement sort of an
I
arrangement?
think we'd like a title, but I don't know what other people, that's just off my head.
Well, one of the things, if you had the title, you'd have a lot more responsibility to the land.
Right,
For maintaining and so on.
For maintaining, insuring it and things like that.
right,
Oh,
Where
okay.
if it was an easement by the town,
yeah.
it would reflect differently.
I think that's the way to go.
Okay.
But I think that's an attorney conversation.
That's an
not a
attorney,
selectman
you need to.
conversation.
Well, we need to discuss that as a board. We
Right,
haven't
also,
really talked about it.
the maintenance cost.
The maintenance,
should be figured
yeah.
out,
Right.
Figured out how it's going to be
Maintain.
handled, and are you gonna be able to maintain it?
Right, well, I mean, we very vaguely talked to a few other chapels around Sugarbush Vale
Right.
Chapel. And I mean, it's a big business,
Yeah,
a lot
no,
of
it's-
administration, so we realize that it's not
Yeah.
that simple.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful building, which
It
will be an
does.
asset, but keeping it beautiful. is-
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes some work.
So what's the possibility of, I mean, I think that the less this chapel becomes kind of like a business is better for us.
Right.
We're kind of, we want the chapel built, but we kind of see this as a town project
Are
in
you,
terms of,
but are you expecting the town to operate it as well?
no.
Who's gonna maintain the bookings and give people the permission to use it? And
I think that is something that we would do, but I think we would like the town at least to have a discussion with them on maintenance of it.
I think that's further down the road, but I think one of the things that you might wanna do in your business plan is come up with that, is what it's gonna cost to maintain, so when you come to us, we have an idea on your numbers,
Mhm.
based on how many uses, switch over of uses. And also, like, I think the idea about a beacon is beautiful. I really like the light thing there. But who's gonna pay for it? Who's gonna change the light bulbs? And who's gonna keep the kids out of there? Because those
Well,
kids.
we probably should, I mean, right, exactly.
You are so
Who's
right.
gonna, right. I think at our next board meeting, maybe that'll be our number one discussion to really decide, because we haven't really nailed that one on the head yet. And, so we do need to talk about that. We've been sort of so caught up in the design.
I would get these ducks lined up before you go to town meeting, because
Right,
these questions that we're asking. we're
Well,
gonna
that's
ask a
right,
lot more.
and we need to know exactly what it is you're going to ask us to do, because we've got to incorporate that into a warrant article.
right.
And we should start writing that towards the end of December at the latest, because you're not gonna wanna just spring this on people at the beginning of February as a
No.
budget hearing,
Right,
right? I
so,
mean, this needs to be talked about a lot around the community, and we need the specifics from you so that we can, the selectmen can decide what the warrant article says, so that we can start talking about it. I mean, this is a great start, and it starts letting people know what it looks like, but it doesn't tell us a lot of concrete about how it gets built, who runs it, how it gets maintained into the future, how it gets booked, all the questions that Mike was asking. Those things, we need to have a plan, like a business plan.
well, would that
for
then be
the
in the
operation.
warrant itself, Mark? That would
Well,
be for the
it would
residents,
at
or-
least be able to be referred to, so that if the warrant article has to say something about the town accepting maintenance responsibilities or whatever, people know what they're voting on.
Right. Okay.
Example, like we support the Ray Center with a fixed dollar amount each year. It
Right,
would be
Sarah?
helpful if you wanted the town support to have a dollar amount and have it figured out what that dollar is going to cover.
Right,
And
okay,
what you guys are gonna.
right,
do
then
with
like the
it.
rest.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you could do like the Ray Board does and run the operation yourself and have it subsidized by the town in a monetary way, rather than have the town operate it.
Right, okay.
Those are specifics that we would have to know
Okay.
before you do the warrant article.
Would we have more flexibility? Because I kind of agree that we should not have the deed. I think there's a lot more flexibility.
Well, the Ray Center doesn't have the deed to the cottage.
Right. So I
Right,
think
the
that's,
cottage belongs to the
To the
town.
town,
I think that's a good start right there.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
talk to the Ray Board about how it's working and how to set it up.
Right.
And we maintain that.
Well, we do,
The cottage,
and maybe
as-
we would
as a
maintain
part.
this, well,
Right.
when we say we maintain it, we do the capital, the
Improvements,
improvements.
repairs and improvements, as well as give them a stipend.
That's right,
So it's.
But- but that's different than our guys going in and
No, that's
cleaning
what I was
every
trying
day,
to do,
and
it's
that's-
true, it's not just
yeah.
a stipend,
So it's
but
gotta be laid out,
okay.
who's
Right.
responsible for what.
Would the board consider maintaining it?
Depends on what it costs. We consider anything, but it's a matter of getting the town to approve it
Right.
and having a plan to back it up.
Right, and the townspeople voting,
it
Exactly.
would be their
Yeah.
decision.
Right.
If I may, I have one question. Eric, could you put the proposed site plan back up? So, yeah, that one there. The parcel of land on the left, is that, Mark, is that where we're putting the pavilion?
Well, yeah, that's the land we just purchased,
Right,
the rectangle off to the left.
off to the
Is-
left.
And then above that is the beach. The
Right.
current beach, yes.
So you will
that's the
have,
area.
so there's a pavilion, the plan is to put for lack of a better, some kind of beach pavilion, which
Some kind of bathrooms.
bathrooms
Yeah.
Well,
and,
we were hoping, we were sort of hoping that the
Right.
chapel could use that so that we
Right.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
depending what it
that
turns
whole
out.
Issue.
We were hoping we could, whatever conduit we run for electricity for that we could continue it, just a little bit
Right.
further and tie into it, because that's probably the closest, tie-in that we'll have.
But we put that off at least a year,
Yeah, our estimates came a lot higher than we
Yeah.
expected.
Okay.
so. And you will have associated noise for, I think, at some point we were talking about having an area around it too, not just a place for people to change, but perhaps some
To get out of the sun.
umbrellas and stuff for people to get out of the sun. So that would be potentially next to your
Next
chapel,
to the chapel.
that complex. So it'll have pluses and minuses, I guess. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, we were counting on that,
Yeah.
Okay.
bathrooms, yeah.
And hopefully one of them, they'll be, one will speak to the other in some way, there'll be a pair. It won't be,
Yeah,
It won't be in conflict.
yes.
no, of course.
Well, I think architecturally that we probably need to look to matching as much as we can, just to make it
Absolutely.
harmonious.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
And it's a great design.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
it's an
I appreciate
awesome
that.
When we get the money to,
Well, that's right.
Mark, just run by me one more time. It is better to have the town,
It's
Oh,
not,
and-
it's not necessarily better, it
Yeah,
depends on
right.
what your goals are.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So just work through it and come up with what you guys want to propose, and then we can discuss it. We just,
Okay,
I don't think we should be dictating to you what you
no, okay.
need to do. I think we just need to know what you want to do.
It deals with your level of autonomy, whereas if it's if it's a lease and easement for you to use the land, every person in town will have an opinion and a chance to talk about how you operate this. Or if you have a defined mission, it might
Right.
be better.
Now, the
to-
Ray Center is,
Presentation was unbelievable, and the amount of time and effort and passion that he has put into it is remarkable. I've seen a lot of stuff, and it doesn't get any better than what you've done, so
Thanks, Tom.
thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks.
Are there gonna be bells in the steeple?
Yeah, well, the plan is to potentially have, like a automated, like a digital system,
Uh-huh.
because they're
Yeah.
more durable than and there's already an old bell in town square, right, that doesn't necessarily get used as much. So a digital system would be nice.
Timeline wise here, we have a selectmen's meeting on the 14th of October and a selectmen's meeting on the 28th of October, currently on the schedule.
okay.
So,
We meet every second Wednesday of the month.
okay,
So
so the 28th potentially?
probably the end of October, I'll have to look at the calendar. I can't remember whether to
I mean,
reconnect.
just to come back for your next update and potentially get started. I'd like to start writing the warrant article as soon as we can in November.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for
Thank you
taking
very
us
much.
first.
Yeah,
And the complete packet is there, and I have the PDF if you want it electronically with all of the information. The board members are welcome. And anyone in the public is welcome to it as well.
Okay, do we have any other privilege on the floor? I think everybody that was here for the chapel thing.
Yep.
So why don't we just go on with the regular agenda and then, review and approve the minutes. I had a couple of corrections.
Is this for us?
this is the
I'm sorry.
27th.
The plans
Yeah,
that he has
we're
in
gonna
the
work
stick?
with the, August 27th minutes first.
I have a couple of substantial.
Important.
Oh, yes, we need to.
Yeah, but
It just comes out.
without.
No,
No.
27th.
oh, okay.
Hold on just a second, Sherry.
I'm sorry, what?
The 27th.
We're on the
The
27th, discussion, line 55. I think that's supposed to be median household income.
Medium.
Can I jump?
Not medium?
Yeah. In that budget adjustments on the MS 434 form, when we were talking about creating a water district, what I'd like to put it, the record, that Mark was gonna research it and get back to us to see what it would take and what the implications would be for us to set up our own water district.
So what line was that on, Mike? I'm
Just
sorry.
added to after 40. That's something that Mark was gonna research and get back to us on how, how we could do it, what it would result in, and if it's worthwhile doing.
Okay.
The next thing I have is on. It's on 114. Anybody have anything before 114?
Yeah, I'd like to get to 110.
Okay.
The board briefly discussed SPN application and DES and the stepping stone. I think we need an explanation of what the SPN application was and where it came from.
We still haven't heard anything on that, right?
No, and actually, when I had my discussion with the principals from the Tyrell Corporation, they said they were gonna check as well. Because they were the ones that initially were told that by DES.
Okay, in line 114, that should be accessible, not accessible.
You got my
Okay, is that all for those minutes?
That's it?
Okay, next set of minutes is from September 9th.
That's not ready.
Those weren't ready.
Good. I sent out an email, that just said that you're gonna have a lot of corrections because it's not a complete.
There was
set.
weird stuff in there. Like
Yeah,
glitches.
don't
Yeah.
worry about,
No.
we're gonna
Okay.
redo that next meeting.
Guess you didn't get the memo.
You didn't get the memo.
I didn't get it
You
either.
didn't get the
So-
email.
I got the memo,
See,
so I
I sent
didn't,
it out.
sent it out. You did send it.
So the one question that I did have in there, however, was, we keep talking about Sandra as Sandra Montville. I thought her name was Sandra Jones.
It is.
Jones.
Jones.
It is
Oh,
Jones.
Jones, okay. It's just like, I'll fix that.
It's muscle memory.
Yeah, it
There
is.
you go.
Unless she
Okay.
wants to go, but.
She got her job here as Montville.
That's what it is, and it's just,
Oh,
She got
yeah,
a job here. as
She's
well.
been here for, 15 years.
Yeah. Okay, how about the minutes of September 16th? So we're gonna table the
We're
minutes of
tabling them.
the 9th. Okay, how about the minutes of September 16th? Anybody have anything?
I'm fine with that.
I had nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we
Doesn't matter.
approve the minutes of August
It's one paragraph.
27th,
Well, I did lower my stand, but
August 27th and September 16th, as amended.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor, aye?
Rich eye.
Oh, you don't have to do that
You
now.
don't have to
that's
do
right.
that anymore,
All
you're
right.
We might need to with the mask, they can't see if our mouths are moving.
That's right. Who is it? Who is that mess?
Okay.
Upper mouth.
That was unanimous on those two. Let's look at the budget review. Expected tax rate setting.
So we've initially sat down, department heads, myself, we sat down. Just want to reiterate, the green highlighted numbers are the adjusted per the MS 434. So those are the numbers that DRA are going to use in the initial calculation of our tax rate. You will be able to change any of those green numbers after we get the proposed tax rate. So those numbers are still flexible. And then under the expenditures, the gray highlighted numbers are the numbers, those are the goal numbers that we have set for each one of those departments. Department heads are currently going through where they are with their expenditures right now and where they expect to be on December 31. We will come back at tax rate setting and modify those numbers, potentially, as to how much we're going to underspend the budget so that you can apply fund balance at tax rate setting, to affect the tax rate. Okay, so those numbers are a little bit flexible, but, we still need the department heads to give you the final feedback.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about the budget?
On the numbers, one of the expenditures, which is pretty important, that was a capital item that we talked about, the new plow truck. Just getting ready, getting equipment ready going into the winter. I think we're not quite as bad off overall budget as maybe our projections were in the springtime. I would like permission to get a lease number for a new plow truck. We're not gonna commit right now, but I'd like to have Jim go out and get numbers for us to consider.
And that was something that was approved.
It was
Town
approved
meeting?
at town meeting.
Approved at town meeting.
It was 35,000.
35 a year for
That
3
was
years.
for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we, there's such a long lead time on the trucks nowadays, especially with COVID, that I really think we need to get out there and look at it. The rest of the capital reductions that we made, we're gonna be able to carry through because they were actually improvements that, most of them were related to the wastewater treatment plant. And because we're waiting for the permit anyway, we're not gonna do those things. So,
Are we gonna do the heaters in the white water?
no, we have wall-mounted units in the plant right now, and those are working. So we'd like to not spend any money if we don't have
What
to.
about the insurance money we got in
Well, you said that we put that away
for the heaters?
for the
For
heaters,
the heaters.
or for the plant.
Right.
You can
So
do
Dylan, you think you're gonna make it through the winter with those electric heaters?
We did last winter,
Okay.
so, I mean, that occurred, when the furnace failed, that was the beginning of January. So we went through the coldest part of the winter without it, so.
Okay.
Is that a okay plan? Are you okay with us getting numbers for the truck?
Yeah.
Cause,
And what truck is this replacing again?
The older Ford F-550 plow truck.
And how old's that?
That is, we're in 20 now, that is a 14, I believe.
And
that truck, Mike, also has been problematic maintenance wise.
it's not the one that rusted out where you had to put a new bed on it.
No.
No.
That is the one that the frame broke.
The frame
Oh,
broke.
okay, rusted out.
So it's rusting out. So that is not a vehicle we wanna try to.
Isn't there any kind of rust warranty on that kind of stuff?
None. Now, if you could find a good plow truck in Tennessee, that, with the snow.
Is it because it's a plow truck, there's no rust warranty, where passenger vehicles, you hear it's 10 years rust?
Well, the problem with these is that they're covered in brine all the time, and there is just, if you're gonna use it for that application,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna cover you for that.
Is there anything we can do, like a deeper undercoating or something on the next one?
There are undercoats out now that we can apply.
They're just gonna increase the cost, but maybe
Last
maybe
one,
we'll be able, well, but yeah, maybe we can find the right price and be able to do that. We can certainly look at it as an option.
Sure. I'm not talking about the old one, I'm talking about the new
No,
one.
the new one, yeah, the new one.
No commitment.
Okay, so we'll try to get those together and look to try to get that on order as soon as we can.
Okay. Department head reports.
Who
Who's
wants
up
to go first?
Go
ahead. Go ahead. You go, Brooke.
Yeah,
Look at them all hide behind you.
In regards to the PTA, that was something that we had talked about by email. I did announce that after-school programs there really wasn't any response at all regarding cost or anything. I also made the announcement in the school board meeting, and I also no response. We put that registration open this last Monday, and in the K through 2 group, we are almost full, and in the 3 to 5 group, which when I put the survey out to figure out where the needs were, they were in both. So that's why we set up both age groups on different days, and we only have one person registered for that program. So that's a bit of a surprise to us. We talked to Gail about it. She said, well, maybe people are figuring out that that age group is, you know, with all the kids around town, and, you know, maybe they're a little older and they can sort of, you know, will go ride bikes and do stuff on their own. Also, the school did organize like a cross-country sort of after-school program. And so there may be other things for them to do. So anyway, that's where we are right now. That program starts on October 5th. Okay, and it's a session, that's session 1, and then there'll be a second session before the end of the year. So right now we're thinking if nothing changes, we're just gonna really focus in on those kindergarten, first and second graders. So
how many kids did you sign up for that program?
there's 10 spaces available each, and there's 7 in one.
Okay.
In one another.
Do you think this might change as the days get shorter, it gets colder, and people are realizing their kids can't go play?
Yeah, well, we were discussing that today because we really are a little baffled about it. And we were thinking, okay, yeah, that's true for right now. They're all having fun riding around. It's great weather. Maybe when it's snowy and cold, then it'll be different, which is great because we're doing it in the sessions we are. Then there'll be an opportunity in November for them to sign up for the second session. So we can just keep going. And also, you know, if during the session, we don't run the 3 through 5 group, it's possible that the K through 2 would like to have more days. So I'll let you know, keep you updated on how that works out.
What's gonna happen to that one poor kid who's in the 3 to 5?
Well, no, that's the tough part. And we've actually been talking about that, you know, from our experience, which is significant in running these very, very small groups of after school. You need at least 4 kids to make it any kind of fun. You know, otherwise it's just basically babysitting a very tired kid. And it's not fun for them either. So we're trying to figure out what is our number where we actually want to run the program, and we've decided that we think it's best with 4 as a minimum. So we'll keep working at that. I don't think that it's a total lost cause. I just think it's surprising that with the limited space availability, there's not more signed up at this point. We also, on that note, offered a girls running club that didn't get any signups, but we think that was because they were doing that cross-country club. We just didn't know about that, and we were trying to put stuff on the map, trying to get stuff out there. So, also, you probably saw in your packet the programs that we have slated through the end of the year. Instead of going through all of those, if you have any questions on any of those, I'm happy to answer. But we do have to, you know, just to read the note that I wrote, you know, we're having to really rethink the rec department right now, what we're offering. We can't just do what we've always done, which has been successful, you know, which is Todd open gym, basketball, all these things that happen in the building. And, you know, in the past, we've always sort of wedged these things between recess and PE in coordination with the school, which has worked fine, but now that's completely out the window. For even programs that we feel we could, you know, manage in COVID if we can't have people in the building during the school day. So we're really having to reimagine what we can take from our old programs, which are some things, you know, that we can keep doing. Adult pickleball, we feel really confident that we can bring that indoors in November. Also bingo, family trivia. There's just sort of this random smattering of things that we can keep running that were successful, but we are going to start. Okay, what can we do outside? How can we, you know, do some online programming? What can we get ready for if we do go to remote learning at one at some point, which, you know, a lot of people feel is a strong possibility. What do we have ready to go to offer the community, you know, virtually? So we're trying to get prepared and think kind of outside the box in terms of.
That's a transportation service.
Right, well, I thought maybe it might be useful. I actually am on this Facebook group for Waterville Valley News and Views, I think it is, and you know, a few times I've seen people sort of asking for a ride, saying, hey, is anyone going into Plymouth on this day or that day or whatever? So I was thinking that maybe we could offer that service on one day a week for a few hours into Plymouth. See how that goes. Can do it on a reservation, or we can just have it a standing thing, use our buses.
Okay.
What else? Any other questions about what we have on there?
How is the Halloween thing going to be planned for the 24th?
So instead of our usual, you know, haunted house and sort of penny carnival and the things we have going in there, really the highlight of that event is our costume contest, I would say, and then the haunted house, of course, but we're just gonna do the costume contest on the pickleball courts outside, you know, and just do the program out there. And I think we feel confident that it can be successful out there, and people will, you know, be wearing masks, and we'll have the runway out there, and that's what the kids like to do, is to walk up the steps and walk along the platform and get noticed. So it's kind of like a little Halloween parade of sorts. And then we are going to be contacting the businesses to find out who's interested in participating in having kids show up at their doorstep and let them manage that. But we will provide the list of the places that are going to be participating, so they can go with their families to these trick-or-treat stops.
I just have a thought on that.
Sure.
And it just, I'd had some other thoughts on this, but is there a hockey tournament that weekend? Because Halloween is going to be celebrated on a Saturday night. And in the last few years when we've had a hockey tournament here, the hockey tournament kids have severely outnumbered the Waterville kids.
That's true.
Well,
And we have more Waterville kids here now, but my concern is with distancing and everything else, maybe we really want to give a strong look at what we're going to do as far as trick or treating, if we're going to have an abundance of kids from all over the place here.
Yeah, I think there were also a couple of news reports last night about CDC guidance on trick or treating specifically. And so I think we need to just take a step back and I think we need to look at what was, because I haven't had a chance to really investigate that at all.
Okay.
But I think we need to work with the school potentially and see how we want to structure it. So go ahead.
GHHS is doing a webinar for towns on trick or treating.
And
Okay,
I signed up for that. Dave,
Awesome, good.
I spoke to Dave last week,
Okay,
and this was, of course, before what you're
Yeah.
talking about came out, just to run it by him and say, are you guys okay with this?
Yeah.
But then he sent me that link to the webinar, so I am going to attend that, and that's something we could scrap pretty easily, you know, the list and have the businesses say, hey,
Right.
this is not a good idea.
Right.
But if you are comfortable with it, we wanted to try to do the costume contest.
Yeah,
I think that's
those sorts
internal
of
to the
things,
town.
I
I
think
think
are
that
okay.
makes sense, and it's done at the school campus,
Right,
which
Yeah.
isn't in the public domain
Right.
for most people.
Okay.
and we gotta look at whatever the guidance is.
Yeah, whatever
And
it
I
is,
think that sounds like a very good starting point, and,
Okay.
you know, it's just gonna be like the trick or treating part of it.
Yeah.
What is the CDC saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what,
The frustration that we continue to have is wanting to do stuff for the community, you know, trying to rethink and rework what we can do for the community, but then also not wanting to put ourselves at risk unnecessarily just because we want to offer something for the community. So it's just a constant battle of wanting to do stuff, but not wanting, you know, to make ourselves vulnerable. So any guidance that you can give me about specific events that you think may or may not be worth, you know, following through, I would really appreciate that, because it is kind of tricky right now. It's such a fluid
I
situation.
think these are the guys to get the guidance from. Public safety, it's what they think is what I think we think.
The advantage you have having that at your places, it's your rules, so you can pretty much control what goes on there.
Yeah.
So I'm with the, you know, I'm with everybody saying that that's a good idea.
Okay,
You know, I wouldn't change that.
okay,
And Brooke, on the fall foliage race, are you doing staggered starts?
yes.
Yeah.
We are. In fact, Andrew Hostetler, who, is their.
And the black bear.
Yeah, and he's just been so, generous with providing us information and sharing information with us about what worked for him, sharing his race packet of what, he expected from the runners, and he's been really awesome. So we're really gonna kind of follow his lead. And frankly, I was waiting to see what happened with, that race, because he had 240 racers out there for that event, and we're gonna have max 150. So in two different races. So, we're really trying to be careful, do what worked. Everyone seemed to think that what he did worked really well. And so we're just gonna follow his lead. So
Is
yeah,
there gonna
staggered
be-
starts and,
Yeah. Is there gonna be a virtual part? No,
no, there's
no
not.
virtual part.
No,
Okay.
I don't think that would be hard to add in if we wanted to. But no, I haven't even
Okay.
gone down that road. We have a really, small, it's a big deal to pull off a race. I mean, volunteer wise, and, so we kind of have our hands full up, I think just having to do this particular race, so.
Right. Okay.
Also, just one other thing, if you don't have any other questions about the programs, is we, the guidebooks, just because I ran into Mike and he was asking about it, people are buying up these guidebooks. It's really wonderful. And I just want to let you know that so far we have sold in some capacity 250 guidebooks. Many of those have been wholesale. So now Wendy's on her third box at the bookmonger, and they're
How
also
many are in the box?
24.
Big box.
Well, wonderful.
For the realty.
Yeah, right. No, that's great. So there's a wholesale price on the book, and then there's the retail price, and it's the same for everyone. So we've got them up in Lincoln, of course, at Steve's shop, all the way down to Meredith, that Innisfree bookshop in Meredith. And then like little places in between. Mad River Coffee keeps ordering more and more. So people are really liking it. And because there's
It's a
so many
great
hikers right now up here, not necessarily people that want to pay to go on a guided hike, but there's a lot of hikers up here nonetheless. They are, I think, a part of the reason why those are really selling in different places except for just Waterville Valley.
That's
So
awesome.
I think that's been almost $5,000 in revenue from the book sales.
Great.
Have you seen an uptick in map sales as well? Or
Yep,
just-
yep, definitely. And people calling more and more about the map that's, do you have a map that covers the whole red liner? So we still don't have that because the AIA is working on that. But what we can say is we have this new guidebook that covers all the trails. So at least we have that to offer. And yes, people continue to buy the trail maps, parking passes. I mean, we're still doing all that business at the rec department. It's just all curbside.
Have they reinstituted the parking pass? The
Yes.
US Forest Service?
Yeah.
They have,
Yeah.
okay.
The
so it's no more-
bathrooms are open.
Yeah,
Pay
the
your
bathrooms
fee.
are-
Oh, well,
So-
there was never any stop in the parking pass. One problem though is that, we ran out of those parking passes and so did pretty much everyone else. And the Forest Service lobby is not open to buy one. And the person that sells them was on vacation. So everyone's been out for a week. So anyway, it's not the
But
right time to be out.
they were actually not requiring,
Right,
fees
Oh.
for some
Oh, I
period
see.
of
right,
time. out
at
of
the
the
very
parking
beginning,
lot.
I think, and
They had it
the
all
summer.
covered up.
Oh, yeah, no, that's,
Yeah.
That's gone.
yeah, that's.
That's, okay.
And I think that was, all I had.
And this, Rich, this was the type of information that you had requested,
Right.
right? Okay, so,
Yeah.
and you're satisfied,
I'm good.
okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was what
Yeah,
you were
wanted to
looking
make sure
for.
it was what you wanted.
The only other thing I wanted just to bring everyone's attention to is that we are, for the first time, going to do a family chalk festival on October 10th in the parking lot of the rec department. So we're hoping that people will come out for that. We're going to give them chalk and they'll all get like their physically distanced spots so that they can create some kind of chalk art. And I think the theme is, I think we said, basically, what 2020 means to you or something.
I wouldn't go there.
Life in 2020.
Oh, no, that's still.
They're trying really hard to like.
How many people are gonna draw the scheme?
Hey, the kids have a totally different perspective. I mean, they might be thrilled. They're in Waterville Valley going to school, playing with kids, riding their bikes to school. So
There
it
you
could
go.
look different from their perspective.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah.
Everybody's hair is on fire.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Can we
Um,
move on?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Move on to public safety.
We're doing pretty well. We're still seeing the weekend influx of hikers, and I think last weekend was pretty bad on West Branch Road. We wrote several tickets up there.
I notice all the signs are gone.
Which ones?
The ones that say no parking on
Oh.
the streets.
Oh, the ones we put out on the.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't expecting this weekend or last weekend to hit us like it did, so.
Well, and I think there were maybe also some sign bandits, perhaps.
There could have been, I don't know if the blue signs may have been missing, but we
There's-
removed all our temporary signs because the resort did the blue
Mhm.
no street
Right.
parking
Right.
signs. And, maybe I just didn't notice, but those maybe miss out, check on that.
So I saw one of those. I did a little round today because one of our citizens contacted me and expressed her concern. So there's one of the no parking on the street signs at the split up here.
Mhm.
Beyond that, there's nothing.
Mhm.
There are 5 no parking signs near depot camp,
Mhm.
okay? But they don't say no parking on streets. They just say no parking and
That's
it's
the
right around
Forest Service.
the entrance, okay?
Mhm.
The sign itself that is at depot camp that directs people to park to other lots says nothing about no parking on streets.
Mhm.
And so I think because, that there is a no parking on street sign as you go towards West Branch Village, but the people that came in from over here probably didn't see a sign or saw it long before they got out into the forest.
Mhm.
And so they just parked right there and they never saw a sign.
Mhm.
So I hate the idea of people coming back from an 8-hour hike and finding a parking ticket on their car. So if there's anything that we could do that would, just make them a little more aware. Even the existing posts that are up that have the holes in, we could attach a few more on a temporary basis.
I think we need some more permanent temporary signs.
Yeah, I mean, I know that nobody likes to put up more signs, but we can make more use of the signs that are up already and just put something down below them or that kind of thing,
Yeah, we can look at it. There's also a little bit of latitude that most people know that you can't park in the road and you have at least enough room for a truck to get by.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah.
Where there's some of the common sense of, I get it if it says no parking, but you don't need a sign to tell people not to park in the street,
Right,
blocking traffic.
yeah. Okay, so,
That's the parking. Colby Morrison is hitting the ground running. He's doing very well with his training and getting to know town and getting to know the people. So we're real happy with that. Going over a few of the ordinances that have come up as far as the noise ordinance and the on-street parking ordinance, we noticed some housekeeping that needs to be done on those ordinances. So we'll have a draft for you for next meeting,
okay,
to go to town meeting with. It's just housekeeping stuff. What else?
any increase in calls with our expanded population?
Slight increase in police calls. Ambulance calls have started to go back down to our normal shoulder season levels. But it's the type of calls that we're getting. It's the population density calls that we're seeing more of: noise complaints, dog complaints, neighborhood disputes, things like that. It's really quite interesting. We're seeing less motor vehicle lockouts, less jump starts, but more of that other stuff. So, yeah,
It's like being a real town.
yeah. And there was one, I think I had one here. Maybe not. Dave, did you want to add anything? Is there any questions?
I think that's mostly everything. Joe Noricchio should be done, the fire academy, so this is final,
He's
next
done.
weekend. Next weekend, I think, is his final test, his practical for the fire academy.
As far as the school. and-
Yeah. So we'll, be glad to have him back. It's been a couple nights a week and weekends, ordeal, so it's be good to get him back.
Well, we're reviewing a new building permit for Bull Hill. So I know there was some concern about drainage coming off there. So the contractor has hired Horizons, the kind of the town standard, to do a drainage impact for the impervious area that's going up there, so that the drainage coming off that lot won't affect the town road down there because they gotta cut that hill down a little bit. So you'll start seeing some activity out there if anybody,
Started today.
Yeah.
I was contacted by Andrew, who was interested in doing a 5K on the day of the turkey plunge in November.
He wants to do it on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving Day.
But also
Oh, and
on,
also on the plunge?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
but also on the morning of the plunge, so.
Oh, good.
Oh,
And I think that's even on the resort calendar now.
Is it?
Actually, yeah,
Okay.
on the occupancy.
So I told him, just give me a plan and we can bring it to you if there's any concerns or questions, and we'll look at it on our side. 5Ks are usually pretty easy to do for us. Saturday mornings for turkey plunge, usually there's a lot of people around, but depending on where you want to start.
Yeah.
The course to go, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for public safety?
Can I, before we do public works, because there's a lot to go over, can I just ask, there is one more budget item. We have Wendy here on the Zoom part of the meeting. She has a request from the planning board regarding the planning and zoning budget line item, and I forgot to mention it while we were going over the budget.
Was that the one that was 10,000?
It was 10,000, you've cut it to 5, and she'd like to talk to you about it.
Okay, talk away, Wendy.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, we're just, at this point, have about, I think, a little over 400 left of that 5,000. And while we're pretty sure we could get through with that, most of what we're spending the funds on, at this point anyway, are for working with Tara with all the guidance that she's giving us. We're putting off most of the master plan work towards next year, and that's sort of a separate budget thing for looking ahead to next year, which perhaps we talk about now as well. But for this year, just to be safe, we're thinking if we could have $1,000 worth back for this year's budget. She's being super helpful. As one of her towns, she's hosting our Zoom meetings and not charging us for that full meeting, right? Only invoicing the town for what she's actually specifically been asked to help us with. So she's really keeping her hours very low, very reasonable. So like I said, the 400-ish ought to make it for us, but if we have something come up, if we need a little extra help with on-street parking or short-term rentals, anything else project-wise, development-wise comes up, we might need a few more hours from her. So we just felt like it might be a good safety net to have that extra 1,000 back for this year.
Yeah, and I echoed that by the current land use issue that we're dealing with. It's very helpful to be able to ask Tara.
I would go up to 1,500, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
2,000, do I hear?
Well, again, just for everybody that is watching now or later, this was originally 10,000 that we had budgeted for the planning board. We asked them if they could make do with 5,000. They're coming back to us and saying, well, we only have 400 left of the 5,000. Can we have a little more? So the proposal is basically to give them 1,500 back.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Here you go, Wendy. Use it well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Do you have
Wendy.
do you have a question, John? No? Okay.
Thank you for showing his support.
All righty. Yeah, so on to Public Works.
Do we need a bathroom break?
Well, everybody's fine, everybody's doing well.
Thank you.
Nothing's holding up.
Thank you.
And the lights on the refurbished trail, or the renovated trail, are up. And they're not energized yet. The co-op needs to put in the meter, and they have not gotten around to it yet. So I was not promised, but told they would try to get that in tomorrow.
Is that what those bases are? There's some bases with nothing on top of them yet?
Those are the signposts.
Those are the
Oh.
signposts.
Wow, those are pretty,
There's a
They're
meter,
substantial.
they're substantial.
there's
Wow.
a meter is going up next to a transformer on the Snowsbrook condo parking lot. So they have to put the meter in, and the electricians then have to install a photocell and energize the lights. So hopefully we can get that done for the weekend, but I'm not gonna make any promises.
There's the co-op.
Yeah. We took down about a dozen trees on Triple I Road. We had a permit from the Forest Service, and we got that project completed. Those were, I think I told you before, they're trees that were in trouble, and they had a lot of wind damage to them, and also we had a lot of wind damage from them. So we did take those down, so to make that route a little easier. We're working on repairing what dumpsters we can at this point in time. So we're trying to avoid having to purchase any new ones before the new year, but, so we're doing the best we can with what we got. And we did hire a person for the transfer station, and I believe she is starting on Monday. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think it's Monday.
Yeah.
So we're kind of excited about that. We had 3 applicants, and we interviewed 2, and we chose this person, so. And hopefully she can do as well, if not better than Brad has done up there for us. So. And that is it, unless you have questions for me.
I don't know if you had something, Mark, in your introductory letter about water usage and wastewater.
Yeah, you have a sheet, that's
We have a
Dylan's,
sheet?
that's Dylan's, bailiwick, he's been tracking. Again, we're continuing to see, they're at least getting to be more manageable daily totals, right?
They're definitely up from the average flow, however.
Right, but we're definitely up.
Yeah, you can see specifically if you look even at like the lowest numbers, flow wise, based on over the previous 2, 3 years. You can see for sure the added full-time residents here are affecting that, especially in the water side of things. Whereas the commercial side was slow down this time of the year for water usage, whereas now there's more residents, it's definitely more consistent. So there's an uptick in the system is definitely being utilized at a higher rate than
So
previous
this
times.
this is the part that I don't understand, Dylan.
Sure.
If I look at the total for 2020, it's less than the total for 2019 and 2018.
We have 8 days missing.
Except there's still 8 more days.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So we're
Yeah.
already at 2.73 on the drinking water.
Okay.
And last year, total for the month was 2.85.
and we're significantly down on the wastewater side with rainfall received.
Right, and that's the other thing that we've been looking at, and I put it in my memo.
Yeah,
but
I didn't
another-
understand that.
So,
When it rains, we naturally treat more water because we just want to run
the
through the
lagoons
sewers.
are open, so each inch of rain means that we have to treat another 100,000 gallons of water.
But we've had less rain this year.
That's right, but our numbers are still
The same,
above.
we should have
or
treated a lot
insane.
less.
We should be
Okay.
getting a lot less because
Okay.
we're down so much rain compared to the
Right.
previous
So
two.
something is making that up.
Something's making that up, and that's people using
That's
the
people
system.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Because we eliminated most of our leaks last year.
Yeah.
I said most.
Okay. And I did want to mention one other, I keep wanting to send Jim a text on this, because, I go by the treatment building every morning when I'm out for my walk. And I am hearing pipe banging, like, when I have air in my pipes in my house and they bang, it's that kind of banging that I'm hearing.
Are you
It's
talking?
not very loud.
With the new building or the old?
Yeah, the
building?
new buildings.
That's the chlorine mixer.
Right.
We're making chlorine for the disinfection on the drinking water side. That's what that noise is.
Okay,
So that's only a periodic, that only mixes up for about 2 or 3 hours, just to make sure it's sufficient mixing time. But that's what that noise is.
Yeah, were you
okay.
keeping in it? No.
but I hadn't heard it before. Like I say, I go by every day and I hadn't heard it before, but just in the past month, I've been hearing it. I said, gee, that sounds like a pipe that's,
No, there should be no pipe banging.
Yes, please, no pipe banging, oh my God, no more.
okay. All right.
Oh.
Anything else, Jim?
Not unless you have something for me.
Okay.
Have we had any water tests done recently out in the
In the system?
area that was repaired this summer?
No,
Oh, you mean at well 3?
Yeah.
Did we do a bacteria?
We've done bacteria tests in the system, but we haven't had to do it on all 3.
Okay.
All righty. So that's department head calendar review. The next meetings are the 14th and the 28th, right?
you have a planning board meeting on October 8th. And the Conservation Commission met yesterday. Eric Levy is the chairman of the Conservation Commission now. They had to replace, because Mike Fergo resigned. So they replaced her. I had a good meeting last night, and we're taking care of a couple of things I'll brief you on later. But things are going well. John was there, but he's
Yeah.
taking a bathroom break.
Eric's still there, but she just,
Turn the camera off.
she turned the camera off. She's still-
So, things are going well. The final thing I had for department heads, the Renewable Energy Committee has been meeting regularly. They've been meeting about every 2 or 3 weeks. They are working on a request for qualifications, which they're gonna come in at the next meeting, and brief you on it. They wanna put it out, to get a, energy consultant. They would put this out as part of the 2021 budget process, but they want to go through, just like you did with engineers, and they want to interview people based on their qualifications, not that they have a specific project for a price number. Once they get a consultant that they're comfortable with, they'll come back and go over the potential projects. And these are not huge ticket items. They're energy efficiency and improvement type things. They want to do this as a public-private type of approach, so that maybe condo associations are doing it at the same time the town's doing it. They want to look at things like even electric vehicles and charging stations and those sorts of things. So I just want you to be aware they're continuing to work, and hopefully they'll be coming in at the beginning of October. So just another group working out there for the town.
Okay.
things. The first is the notice requirements for municipal public hearings, specifically the planning board, having to do with amendments to the zoning ordinance. Those changed so that now we can post those electronically instead of in a newspaper. So it should have been
We're in the
done a long.
21st century.
We are finally getting to the 21st century. It only took us 20 years. So the other thing is temporary optional town meeting procedures. These are procedures that were adopted in the May timeframe this year. And they were used by the towns that had not had their town meetings when the emergency orders were put into effect. So there were several towns that used these options over the spring and summer. The options, in addition to this year, the options have been extended through this legislation to 2021. So I just provide these as notice to you, or, things for you to think about, depending on where we are when it comes to March of next year.
Yeah, I saw several things in there that I thought were rather cumbersome.
It's
Yeah.
very
I
cumbersome,
mean,
but it's only if we're in a true emergency. I think
Unable.
we should- that's right.
You're
If
unable
we're
to,
unable
and
to have-
they don't really define
No,
what
they
unable means.
And I've asked NHMA about that, and they are still trying to figure it out.
We
because-
may have more people at our town meeting
Exactly.
Well,
in
you know,
March than usual, 80 to 100.
people were talking in the community meeting about weddings, okay? So the wedding that I attended that had over 100 people, yes, it was outside, okay? But what they did is that they put 2 chairs together and then they didn't put the
Space.
next chairs until 6 feet away. So that people who were from the same household would come, they'd sit down, they remove their masks, because they were sitting next to each other. And I said to Mark, if we do this, and we may very well need to do this, we could probably set up the gymnasium lengthwise the same way. I thought they did an excellent job with the voting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that worked swimmingly. The fact that we could have people go out the far door and come in one door and go out another door, that worked great.
Excellent.
So I'm thinking we may be able to do something like that. It's going to be a very widespread out meeting kind of thing. But then we have to deal with how do people do their voting.
Right.
They have to do it on
Right.
paper. It has to be handed in.
Well, let's see how they amend it if we
Yeah.
wind up.
And that would.
I was thinking we could have a kid with a mask and a wagon who kind of.
Go around. Yeah.
Great.
There may be people who won't want to
I
attend the
think
town
that,
meeting.
Yes.
I think
So
that
it needs
kid
to
might
be
have some
something.
bias and there could be some voter fraud.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Bart ballot harvesting.
yeah, we could
Yeah.
have people attend the meeting by Zoom, but the rules that they have here say they still have to vote by
Right, right.
paper.
Yeah.
They expect them to get in
But they
their
could
car
come in
and
another
drive.
time. They could come in another time. It's strange how they separate the
Right.
time
So they don't
frames.
have to be with a bunch of
Where you can have your
people.
meeting, then your
Right.
deliberative session, then come back again and then have people vote and then
Yeah.
come back again and drop the votes on.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting times.
We don't
as
have
it has
any need
been.
to.
Right now, we
Any
don't have
others?
to
We're
do it.
good for a while.
We don't have to do anything about it right
The
now.
next thing is just some changes in DES and
Yeah.
emergency actions on the dam. The next one
Thank
is
God we've been through that.
Yeah.
the application for exemption from large groundwater withdrawals that could affect
Except-
us.
This is the strange thing. If you read the language on that, it says, no person shall. It doesn't say no municipality shall.
But then they have a definition of
Person
person somewhere.
counts as municipality,
Oh, I
counts as.
understand.
a person.
And
They have a
definitions.
definition of
They
person
do,
somewhere.
they take care of that.
It's,
Yeah.
in other words, everything.
And then a big one is in House Bill 1558.
Yeah.
And that is the percentage for approval of a bond issue is now lowered to 3/5 instead of 2/3. So that's
Is that temporary or?
no, that's permanent.
That's permanent.
And that's been being discussed for several years, and they finally got it approved.
Alrighty,
Okay,
do we need to bring Tim in for the bus
Tim.
discussion?
I don't know, is Tim around?
Yes,
I don't see
was
him.
I,
We sent him the link, so I
Has
did
he
not.
gotten back to us with his thoughts and his requests?
Well, he wanted to start that discussion, so I don't, he's been sent the link, so let me just make sure.
I do have one message that's come in over the YouTube chat, and
Okay.
it's from Reggie Bregner, asking if it is possible to trim some of the trees surrounding the stone tower. It is very overgrown.
I've been asking for that for a while, but I had a vested interest, but there are dead trees in there as well.
We got that.
I would say that's possible.
This isn't the first time we've discussed that.
No, we did trim some earlier on, this year, and we got some more to do, I do know that, just
Just the one dead one would be appreciated.
the one dead one?
There's a big one that's closest to the property that I sleep at.
So we'll see what we
Yeah.
can do in there.
And that was a,
We're careful because
Yeah.
it's all private down through
Right.
there.
but that tree is a significant, it's not a little one, that's why I've been patient.
I can't see any emails
All right, then.
Tim,
from Tim, so we'll just do it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
yeah, I had also asked a question at the community meeting, but because Tim wasn't on his normal channel, we didn't get an answer. When Tim talked about the school being $150,000
Mhm,
in the red
that's correct.
because of everything, did that include the money that they were going to give back to the town but didn't?
Yes, that's,
So the total was more like 250.
no, it's 150 total. The 100, they're not able to give us back the 100 because they
Right.
gotta put it towards the one.
Towards that. So
So
it's
it's-
150, not 250 total.
That's my understanding, I'll check
Yes,
with you.
that's,
I thought differently.
You
Yeah,
thought it was
I-
the other way around?
Yeah,
You thought it
I
was
could be wrong.
250? No,
Yeah,
don't
I
think
didn't attend this meeting, but
no, I
Earlier, I
didn't,
think.
I didn't
Um,
attend this one either,
Well, you
so
know, no, it might
I
have been a
just
250
wanted
swing.
clarification on that.
Because this will be a deficit appropriation warrant article that they will have to put on the 2021 school district meeting
Mhm.
To
for
pay the-
150,000
Right,
to pay for
for
the
the,
previous year.
right.
Yes,
this year.
Have we got a number of how many new high school students we picked up this year? I haven't heard anyone
I
reference
heard
that.
one,
Of new high school students?
Yeah, just of this new. group
either
of
0
people
or
living here.
1.
I
Either
heard
0
one.
or 1, I know there's a total of 3.
There's a
Oh,
total.
okay, that's,
Oh, that would make 2 then, I think.
No, well, I think they had 2,
There's a,
Oh,
and I
no,
think
thought
they
had
added.
one. But any, it doesn't, sorry.
no, that's a number.
I think it's just
That
one
number
ad,
is,
yeah.
you know.
Well, the question is how many of the 8th graders
Yeah.
are gonna stay till 21?
We got a lot of
Because they're gonna have to budget
Yeah.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All righty. Discussion of the loop trail request. Did everybody have a chance to read that? What do they need us to do?
Yeah.
Just say that we.
Yeah, so Marvin just continues, he's a pit bull, it's great. Very happy that he's fighting this battle for us. The question is, are we willing as a town to tell the Forest Service that we're gonna support, we're supporting this. There's no money attached to it at this point, but they need a sponsor organization to continue to go through it, and it can't be Marvin by himself.
Well, I think it's much in line with our hiking.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
helpful.
We have the
Hiking in the-
VIA and
Plan.
the town co-sponsor a letter.
Yeah,
letter.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good idea.
okay. Water conservation, temporary regulations.
Where do we sign?
Well-
What choice do we have?
Yeah, and I went back and looked at this website, that has this information on it. And 2 weeks ago, or maybe the last time we had a meeting, we were in a moderate drought
Yeah.
kind of situation. And within 2 weeks, we're now in
Right.
severe.
I don't think we've had any rain in 2 weeks.
No, we haven't. And, I don't know what was going on last night. The skies were cloudy, the wind was
Yeah,
blowing, but
I
there
I thought it was
rain.
raining.
I got a notice to expect a light rain shower, but it
Yeah, never happened.
never happened.
So,
Jim is seeing some definite dry
Oh,
conditions out in
yeah,
the field.
out in the field.
You should see the golf courses. I've been traveling, playing
Yeah.
golf all over the state, and it's just,
they're brown.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah.
Fire.
So what do we need to do?
Well, I would ask if you're okay with it to actually adopt this ordinance. And then under the ordinance, if you go to page 2, the board has the ability to issue anywhere from a level 1 restriction to a level 4 restriction. And we would modify the level 4 restriction to remove subparagraph 5 because it's a duplicate.
Some paragraph on
Yeah, so under requirements, paragraph D, if the board issues a level 4 restriction, on page 3 of 6, there's a subparagraph 5, washing of cars and boats.
it.
Already in subparagraph 4. It's the same.
It is?
No, you mean five,
Oh,
say 5 and 6.
I'm sorry,
You
5
wanna
and
eliminate
6.
6.
So either eliminate 5 or
Let's
eliminate
eliminate 6 to give people a chance to wash their cars. I don't see that many people washing their cars. I don't see that many people filling swimming pools or watering their lawns here, but I wouldn't know.
No, there's a lot.
quite
I know what,
Yeah, if I look back at the actual flow numbers, we haven't had any rain, we've only had a half an inch of rain in the entire month of September. And there's days where we have a 40,000 gallon difference between water and sewer.
Really?
Yeah, so there's quite a significant amount of water.
and can we notice the people that are washing? We don't want anyone.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go around, once you
Yeah.
adopt this,
Yeah.
we're
No, I don't
going
want
to
someone to
actually become
say I
the
didn't
water
know.
police. We're going to. I mean,
Warnings
Okay,
or-
so
Warnings,
the
this-
places that I know that water regularly are the golf course and the tennis courts. So that's out, right? They can't do that anymore?
No, commercial use of their own water is allowed.
Okay, so Craig is drawing off his pond.
Yes. He
Right.
does not draw.
Unless you want to,
Well,
right,
Not
unless you want
off.
to recommend something different, that's,
But the tennis courts draw town water.
right.
They would, and under this, we would no longer allow them to do that.
That might affect him, because I know he's got to water that thing to keep it going. He's only got another week or 2 left.
Well, under here, it's only residential use
Oh,
that
okay.
we restrict. There's
Alright.
no commercial, because they're paying by the use.
Okay,
What I would recommend, though, when we put this into effect, is that we look at our fee structure as part of the 21 budget. And if you implement a level 4 restriction, you're not gonna stop the commercial people accounts from using the water, but you can do it at a different rate.
okay.
And I would recommend that you jack the rate up, because we wanna encourage conservation.
Yeah, so many thousand gallons at this rate. you
Exactly.
Jump up to this.
That's right.
You exceed that, then you go to this rate, you exceed that, you go to
This would be for every residential and
a,
commercial.
to promote.
No, well, this
No,
would be
no, I get it, I
specifically
get
for
it.
commercial.
Commercial, okay.
So this regulation doesn't address commercial at all?
No. Not the way it's written. It can, you can add another paragraph in here or
I
put
think
in
the only person
commercial.
that's gonna affect is the tennis club, and they'll be done in 2 weeks.
I mean, you're even allowing the washing of cars at a commercial facility because you're only prohibiting it at a non-commercial. So,
But if we left it to odd days,
yeah,
But we don't have any commercial facilities here in
No, we
Waterville
don't.
Valley.
no, if the mountain wanted to wash their cars, Or if the town wanted to wash their trucks, that would be a commercial facility.
That's right.
So I would go with eliminating 6 and keeping 5, so odd and even days. That addresses. For example, like you guys run through something where you can't see through the windshields of your trucks, you've got to clean them.
Right. That's a different story, right?
Yeah.
In circumstances, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
So we're eliminating 6
That's what my
and
suggestion would be.
keeping 5.
So folks are gonna find out, if they're not watching this meeting, they're gonna find out about this in their water bill.
Well, no, they're gonna find out when we start publicizing it. We're sending it out via email, we're going to put it on our website and social media, we're going to send the associations
Okay.
notices with copies of the ordinance,
Mhm.
and notice that you've implemented level 4 restrictions. And these level 4 restrictions, if it starts raining, you might lift them even at the next meeting, but at least you're putting them into
Let's
effect
protect
now.
action.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna keep 5, we're gonna delete paragraph 6.
Yeah.
All right, and we are going to implement a level 4 restriction. And so that means we need to get out around the community and
Right.
start looking for and stopping irrigation, especially at the residences, because we gotta stop that 40,000 gallons a day
Yeah.
difference as much as we can.
Okay. So do we need a motion to adopt the
Yes.
ordinance and
And
to?
then to implement the level 4.
Okay, I make a motion that we adopt the water use restriction ordinance for the town of Waterville Valley, and also to adopt level 4 restrictions at this time in view of the fact that our town and most of our state is in a severe drought condition. Second.
I will second that motion that we are using the draft presented to us with the amended removal of paragraph, subparagraph
D6.
D6, thank you.
Yes. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Now it will rain.
Now, it will
Now
be-
it will
rain.
and we'll be happy. We
Everybody
would
get
be-
your umbrellas out.
That's a good thing.
Is that go at 2 in the morning and turn on your,
Okay.
Water conservation is approved.
Education funding issues.
So I had sent you that draft letter, we never really reviewed it and got it to the point where you are okay with it.
I said I was okay with it.
Well, I don't think as a board,
Oh, okay.
we said that so that was in a previous. Is for you guys, just look at it and say, yes, this is what we want to sign. Mike has already said he's okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't respond to,
I didn't
I'm
see
okay,
you.
yeah,
You're okay
I'm
with
okay
it?
with it.
All right, so I will print, Margaret, are you?
Yeah, I can't remember, I thought I
Okay,
made a
so
comment.
just look
I
at
made a
it.
comment on it, didn't I? Did I make a
I did
comment
not
on
see
it?
it.
Okay.
It's at the last meeting, yeah?
After the last meeting.
After the last meeting, you sent it out, yeah.
Yes. So if you're all right with it, I'm going to print it. I'll make whatever changes. If you did make a comment, Margaret, I missed it. So I just need I'll need you to come in and sign it. I'll let you know when I printed it off. There are a couple of meetings. I've sent you a link to the Education Commission website, and there's a couple of upcoming, there's a public meeting and then a public comment. The public comment is either Friday or a week from Friday. And then there's another commission meeting that would be good just to have people there. Mike and I had a chance to talk a little bit about the education funding issues that they're looking at, but they're pretty severe.
Yeah.
Some of
And I
what
think we're
they're,
gonna get hit on them somehow.
Yeah.
But let's hope it's a lesser impact, where calmer heads prevail.
And thank you for sending.
Yeah, that article is.
The article.
Was that interesting?
Oh, it's very interesting, because it really defined, the one thing that was good about the article was, I think the final paragraph talked about this as a plan, not necessarily
Yes.
a rule, but to some degree, it's going to get hit, and we're kind of in an indefensible position here.
Yeah, for sure.
Because our tax rate has been so low, but what Mark and I were talking about, and I might try to do this when I have some spare time in the next week or so, is we discussed the difference in properties here and our property values with how they compare to other places in the state because of the uniqueness here. And what I think I'd like to look at to see if it's got any validity is to look at our cost per square foot and see if that gives us a better baseline to defend ourselves as far as where things are, because we have that vacation home that is very expensive. But we also have some of the most affordable housing in the region, where a lot of towns don't have $60,000 units. They are small and all that, but if I did a comparison of price per square foot, I'd like to see how that spreads out across
All the different types of condos, the
different
single family
types,
homes.
and also how it spreads out across these other towns we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, what is the average cost? Because I should be able to pick it up in my realtor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As to what is the average cost per square foot in,
Claremont.
Claremont or
Yeah.
Derry or Nashua.
Right. And get the range from
Yeah.
all of the, the property poor towns.
Right.
And the property rich towns. Yeah, I think it would be a good.
Because I don't know what that'll yield us, but it's a
Right.
better thing than I was saying, average sale price per
Right.
house or per condo.
Sure, sure.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I just found it, Mark, I'm fine with
You
it.
did, okay, all right, if you're good with it,
Yeah.
we'll print that out. Okay. So, nothing we can do right now, but, I do think that it is something we need to, keep on our radar that, could have some major impacts down the road.
But there you go.
Okay, board concerns and directives. Anything from anyone?
I sent you an intent to cut form.
Yep.
One of the first ones, we did confirm with the assessor that it is required, even though the board foot totals are lower than statutory, it's because of the, what's it called?
It's because, the biomass chips.
Biomass chips that they're gonna produce, i.e. the trees are gonna get chipped instead of hauled out of here. But because of that, they do need an intent to cut. It's a small amount of money for us, some money for the state. But they are required to
I
file.
wondered about that.
So we would recommend that you approve it as presented. The assessor has looked at it, and they're good to go with it.
Yeah, it looks like they wanted to start on the 21st, I think it was.
Well, we told them that you guys were gonna look at it, but I saw trucks coming into town where there were trucks this morning.
Oh, this morning.
Where were they, Jim? Do you know?
I did not see them.
So they weren't Golden Heights?
I did not see them.
I didn't, I drove by the,
Okay.
I didn't see them unless they were back in the woods.
All right,
But I
So-
saw them up, they were craning stuff over at Sunnyside the other day, yesterday.
Mhm.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's like 4 trucks.
yeah.
Takes,
It was
yeah,
from yesterday.
Sunnyside was doing some tree removal in there.
And was Dana doing any over at
No,
Tyler?
not that I'm aware of.
So you have several things for them
I do,
to
so-
sign?
All right, well, what about the sign permit we have to do too?
Yes, so we've got a sign permit that was with the intent to cut.
Yeah.
That's for Windsor Hill.
The sign permit I have upstairs.
Okay, we'll get-
I've got one here I printed in color that you can use if you like.
Nice, thank you.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
There's the sign permit and the intent to cut, so should we? do
The
any of those?
intent to cut, I think, is the official. Oh, it's same color, so let's see what. No, it's got printing on the back,
Oh,
just,
okay.
so use the official one, please.
That's the intensive credit. And this is also the MS1 heating your
Right.
signatures. So. MS1 and your design one right
Is
there.
this in left field? Just the front page of the MS one?
Left field or right field, Mike? Where do we need to put it?
And
Yeah, I mean-
this is.
Margaret will sign the sign permit.
This must be somebody else's printing attached to this, but that's okay. This is the veterans credit application that
That we
You
denied.
denied.
you denied, and the signatures are needed on the bottom of that.
What date do you want this?
This was the last meeting.
It was,
so
would have been the
Would have
ninth.
been this night.
Thank you.
Hey, having too much fun, we're almost done with
Just
September.
seeing any water in the future?
Glad you're here.
October, November, and
Yes,
December.
yes,
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 just
yes.
a couple.
Small showers, it isn't get
That's the sign permit.
Yeah.
on
How far is your, is
And,
your radar?
Martin just
You
did
a month out or so?
before we
rain.
go into
I
non-public.
mean, they're talking about possibly having showers this weekend, but who knows?
The sign permit, I need a motion to approve the
I will make
sign.
the motion.
I will second the motion to approve the sign permit.
Where
Go
where
Windsor
is
Hill.
Rita's Way?
That's
Across from the school.
across from the school.
It's the private street that goes
Oh,
to Windsor
private
that
street.
is
Okay.
owned
Slow
by,
sign for drivers
what's his name?
coming in
Yeah.
from Noon Peak, okay.
Yeah.
Arthur Gordon.
So,
Arthur Gordon, yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, they have to do this because it's visible from,
So nothing, but I mean, a little thing, but there's no pattern kind of that's gonna bring us a week of rain or anything.
Not that I-
Nothing, no.
It's nothing
Maybe
that's
next Tuesday
a
or
large amount of
Wednesday,
rain that's in a
possibly.
foreseeable forecast anyway, right?
But
But
one
maybe
day of rain
30%.
It'll be,
Which is-
when Dana gets down to, starting the house lot on Moose Run there,
Yeah.
and he gets down to where he needs to be for footings. I'll bet you that's powder.
Bone dry.
Still a motion to go into non-public, Margaret, unless there's anything else.
Yeah, I just picked up on this additional information. What is this that you sent us?
That's for non-public.
Ah, okay, gotcha. All right, can I have a motion to go into non-public for the purpose of discussing things that we're allowed to discuss in non-public?
I so move.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, give me a moment here, please. Let me-
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you,
Thanks for
Gina.
joining us.
That's not Tina, that's probably the new manager.